All right. Well, happy Monday. Happy March 24th. I hope everyone is having a great day. And this is our final session. This is week 4 of Hypertension Mastery, Take Control, Reach Your Goals. So I hope you all have enjoyed the sessions and have learned something and been able to apply that to your everyday activities and lifestyles. And hopefully you all have seen some changes. And I would love to hear that feedback. We're going to be sending out a survey link after the class. I've put that information in the chat as well. But you'll receive that email today, this afternoon. Please provide feedback. We would love to hear what we're doing well and what you think we might could do better. So just be honest with that. And I'm also going to be sending out a blood pressure jot form link. I sent this out at the beginning. I really didn't get a lot of feedback, and that's okay. If you have a way of monitoring your blood pressure, I would love for you to put in there what your baseline blood pressure was before class and what your current blood pressure reading is now. If you don't want to deal with a jot form, if you just want to email me the difference, maybe the reading you had before class or your current reading now. If you don't have both readings, just share if you're seeing an improvement or you've noticed any changes since taking the class. All right, we are at the 12 o'clock hour, so I'm going to get started to be mindful of everyone's time. Before I get started, do we have any questions? All right, I'm going to take silence as no questions. Nope, thank you, Miss Amy. You guys know if you have any questions, feel free to stop me in the middle of the presentation or put your questions in the chat box, and I will follow up at the end, or if I need to stop in the middle to address it while we're on the slide, I will. All right, so take control, reach your goals. We're going to focus on long-term management and empowerment in this session. So hypertension or high blood pressure is a common condition that can lead to serious health complications if not managed properly. I think we've probably talked about that. I think you probably feel very confident with that 4 weeks in. But today we're going to explore those strategies that can help you control those blood pressures and discuss how to integrate these into your daily lives for sustained health benefits. I think we all know what hypertension can cause at this point. From day one, we talked about what it is, the definition, the categories of hypertension, what side effects can happen, what organ damage can happen from not controlling that. So now we're going to talk more about those, how to manage it daily and to live that healthy lifestyle. So as you remember, we talked about the DASH diet early on. If anyone wants more information on the DASH diet, please let me know. You can reach out to me via email or in the chat box here. But let's start talking about these 3 cornerstones that we've previously addressed during our class. Adopting that DASH diet, and remember we talked about by making those changes, you can see an improvement within 2 weeks. Engaging in regular physical activity and effectively managing stress. When we focus on these 3 key strategies, then we can effectively manage our blood pressure. It is crucial to focus on these 3 elements to have that blood pressure control and to enhance your overall health. The DASH diet stands for that dietary approach to stop hypertension, as DASH, but that's what it stands for, dietary approach to stop hypertension. It emphasizes on consuming fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins while reducing those salts, red meats, and sweets. This diet is rich in potassium, magnesium, and fiber, and it helps to lower those blood pressure and cholesterol, which will then in return reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. You can see the fruits and vegetables are rich in that potassium. Those whole grains reduce the blood cholesterol and aid in weight management. Low-fat dairy provides that calcium and protein without the high saturated fat. And those lean meats and nuts are essential proteins and energy with low saturated fat. So I'd be curious if any of you guys have tried to play around with the DASH diet. If you focused on balancing your plate more with your vegetables, trying to do away with more of the processed foods. So I'd love to hear in the chat box if you've made any kind of changes to your diet in this 4 weeks. If you're comfortable, if not, it's okay. But I would love to hear that feedback if you've had. Working on more veggies and fruits. That's great, Amy. And I know sometimes we tend to want to lean more toward fruits, right? I don't know for your palate, but my palate prefers fruits over vegetables. So that is a struggle. So I'm always trying to get creative in ways to add more vegetables to my diet. Also, just to throw out there, remember, if you are diabetic, be careful if you're adding more fruit than vegetables, because sometimes those fruits can run up your glucose. So you're looking for that balance. But that is a great thing, adding more fruit, fresh fruit and vegetables. Has anybody tried to cut back on eating out in this 4 weeks? Because I know with this lifestyle that we live, everybody is always on the go. We're always needing those super quick and easy, convenient meals. And so that usually is drive-through or maybe something frozen from out of the freezer at home. And usually 9 out of 10 times, that could probably be the more unhealthier choice. Especially those frozen dinners have a lot of, even some of those lean cuisines or those that are marketed to be healthy can have more higher saturated fats. So be careful if you're doing those and you're really watching that sodium intake. But I also know that eating out, like I said, we just live in that fast pace and it's convenient. But we talked about early on about trying to add more cooked meals at home, eating in and trying to keep handy, healthy snacks. Great feedback, Amy. Thank you. Yes. And that's it. You've got to have the options. If you're at home or wherever you are, if you're at work and you don't have access to a healthy snack and you need a snack, you're going to go to the vending machine or you're going to pull out or you're going to grab what's on the break room table, right? So it's always good to have a plan and be prepared to have those healthy snacks on hand. Make out some little Ziploc bags, or if you have a room at work where you can bring in for the week maybe some healthy snacks so you don't have to worry about packing those at home each morning or each night before work, to buy that up to have that option all week and then maybe replenish that during the week. Those are always great suggestions as well. If you work from home, just making sure that whatever you're buying, you're trying to add in as many healthy options as possible. All right, so physical activity. What would be a wellness class if we weren't talking about physical activity, right? So eating healthy, the DASH diet is, like I said, one of the recommended diets for high blood pressure. And you can get real specific on that with your sodium intake. If you guys have any questions on that, you can always email me or, talk to me after class about if you're wanting to watch the sodium intake that you have. So now let's talk about physical activity. It plays a vital role in maintaining that healthy blood pressure. Activities like walking, cycling, swimming, all should be performed at least 150 minutes per week at moderate intensity or 75 minutes at vigorous intensity. Now, I know what you're saying. Every time I read this slide and in the slides previous sessions that talk about this is ideal. This is that recommendation, okay, ideal state. But if you're not exercising at all right now, don't let that 150 minutes a week or 75 minutes of vigorous freak you out or turn you off from exercising. Start small and build on it, okay? You don't have to get to 150 that first week that you decide you're going to start exercising. If you're not doing anything at all right now, start small. 5 minutes. 10 minutes even, if you can. If we're all honest, we really could find 5 or 10 minutes in our day if we really wanted to, because I guarantee you we found 5 or 10 minutes to scroll on social media or on our phones or to play a game, whatever it is that we do. I'm sure we found that time to do that. So just start small. Find 5 or 10 minutes a day to go for a walk. If you're just going to get 5 or 10 minutes, try to do a brisk walk if you can. But either way, find something, find a little bit of time, start small, build on it, Once you start getting consistent with that onto whatever goal that is, then you add to it. Once you start, then I promise you're going to crave it. You're going to want more activity because you're going to feel so much better. But ideally, that overall arching goal should be 150 minutes a week if it's moderate. But if you're doing more of a high intensity, then that's 75 minutes. But at the end of the day, if you can't do that, just get moving. Do something. We want regular exercise because it strengthens your heart and helping with it to pump more efficiently, which is going to lower that blood pressure. So I'm curious, has anybody started any exercise or any workout plans or got any gym memberships or increased your activity in these last 4 weeks? Let me know. Drop it in the chat box. No, but yes, I need to. Absolutely. Hey, that's okay. I love the honesty. But yes, so Miss Amy, just figure out. And I even have, like, if you're in the office, I even have desk exercises, stretches and things that you can do at your desk. I can even share that in an email to you guys if you're interested. But it's really just getting creative. It doesn't have to be a gym. Okay, it doesn't have to be some elaborate equipment. You can just get moving in your office, or you can map out some space at your workplace to try to get a 5-minute walk in each day. Maybe if you get an actual lunch, maybe leave the last 5 minutes to walking. Or if one of these you get your lunch, but you also get to take a 15-minute break or so. And then maybe take some of that time to get a walk in, or to do some squats or some lunges in your office or in a space. It's just all about moving and getting creative. When you're doing this right here, and I should have said this early on, and I apologize, but when you're listening to on a conference calls or during this class, you could be standing and jogging in place and listen to me chat and talk, because I know sometimes this voice, it gets a little like, ugh. So you could be up moving while you're listening to this class, or any other classes or any other conferences that you have that you don't actually maybe have to speak or be 100% attentive to. But you can walk and listen at the same time, and that would be a great way to fit that in to your busy day. Oh, definitely. So it sounds like right now we don't have a safe place to do that, and that is definitely something that you want to do. So I do hope that works out for you. But just know, too, like when you're out and about, you can use Target or Walmart or Kroger as your walking space when you're going shopping or whatever that. Make a few more loops with a buggy around your aisle after you've gotten everything or before you start, or do some window shopping at Target. Maybe I don't have extra money to go shopping. We'll just use the facility to walk. And then, like I said, if you have a way to it within inside your building, map out, half of a mile or a mile within your building. Or if you've got stairs, work on going up and down half the flight or the whole flight. There's so many ways to get creative to fill it into your day if you don't actually have a set place or a set time. But great feedback, thanks. Perfect. You do use the stairs, that is great. And then when it is safe, when you are places that are safe, you can always try to park a little further away than the front entrance. Now, I wouldn't do that if it was raining or bad weather, but coming up on some really nice spring and summer weather, if you don't have any asthma or COPD or things like that would hinder it, but you could always try to park a little further when you're in a safe spot and things like that. But always trying to do the stairs, or if you've got 5 flights of stairs to go up, maybe taking the stairs for the first floor or second floor, whatever you can build up your intolerance, and then getting on the elevator to finish that out. All right, so we talked about DASH diet, the eating healthy being one of the main cornerstones, and then we just talked about physical activities. So now stress management. I think we would all agree that stress plays a huge role in our health, right? And we all probably agree that we all have some level of stress in our life right now.
Sure do.
Probably. And amen to that, right? So my question to you is, do you have a way that you try to manage that stress? were you aware of how much the stress affects you physically before this class? If so,
Yes,
what
I think
have
I was
you,
aware.
okay, have you, had before the class, did you try any stress management techniques? Have you found anything that works? Or are you like many of us that we just keep pushing through it? We just keep working through it.
Most of the time I keep working through it, but I do try to stop and do some deep breathing.
Good, good. So many times I think that we know the stress is there. We know, okay, yes, I know it's affecting my blood pressure some. Some people may have didn't know that, so you've learned that. But it also makes you, releases cortisol levels, going to make you eat more, going to affect your blood sugar, going to affect your weight gain. There's all this other stuff. But so many people just think, stress is part of life. Like, it is what it is. I got to keep going. And yes, stress is part of life. We're always going to have some sort of stress. But what's so important, though, is being able to identify when you're starting to reach that level of like, this is becoming unhealthy, and really making time for yourself and taking control of figuring out what technique works best for you. Because at the end of the day, no one is going to make sure your stress levels in check. That is going to be on you. Okay. No one's going to stop and say, I mean, you might have some within your work, your boss or whatever might check in, but at the end of the day, it is going to be you. Okay, so you've got to put yourself first. You've got to get that in check, because stress can cause it's a domino effect. All right, if we don't get that stress under control, we're going to start having more health problems. Okay, and then it's going to lead to more mental health problems. So out of everything that we talk about, I think this is the one the most that people, when they go after something to change, to get their blood pressure under control, they work on diet or they work on exercise, but they don't focus on the stress. Now, many a times when you're focusing on your activity and you are increasing that, you do kind of help your stress, because walking is a great stress relief. But there's so many other things that we lose sight of. Just like you just said, I think that was Miss Patty, is the deep breathing. And I sent that out early on, and that is something you can do anywhere. But also, I touched on this briefly before, maybe it's a hobby. Maybe if you like to paint, maybe if you like to read, just make sure you're not reading something that's stressing you out. Whatever you're feeling yourself with mentally like that, make sure that it's positive and it's uplifting. So maybe you're like really into crime mystery things. Okay. And that's good. If you enjoy that, that's great. But if reading or watching those shows are keeping you edgy, then maybe we need to watch those some, but then find something that kind of gets us in that mellow place, like keeps us calm. Social media to me is one of those biggest things that, unless your feed is full of just positive affirmation things, a lot of times a lot of that negative can kind of flow into that. Or how many shows are out there on reality shows that are just filled with drama, right? And some of us may, we like that, like, hey, I love to sit down and just watch a show like that. But if it's keeping you in turmoil, if it's keeping you're feeding into that, then you need to do away with that, or you need to minimize it. If you have friends or you have loved ones that are contributing to this as well, then loved ones are harder, right? They're harder. You can't just turn your back on our loved ones that may be stressing us out. But we need to deal with that, okay? We need to remove as much of that in our life as possible. If you've got friends and they're negative all the time and they're always got drama and they're always pulling you in with that drama, then maybe we need a different set of friends. Not saying you can't be friends with them anymore, but we're all adults in this class. We're not in high school. You should be able to approach that person and just let them know, like, I want to be your friend, but this is too much and it's affecting you. So you've got to be able to identify what the stress is in your life, eliminate what you can 100% control, And then what you can't, then you have to take control of how you deal and handle with it. The one thing you can control is your attitude, is your mindset, okay? But you're going to have to fill yourself with positive things. If you have trash coming in, then trash is going to come out. So just try to think of different ways that works for you. And what works for Miss Patty may not work for Miss Amy. So you got to figure out what it is that works. But don't ignore it. Don't think it's going to go away. Because if you take a little bit of time, maybe it's a walk, maybe it's going to pamper yourself once a month if you can afford that, or whatever that looks like. Maybe it's, if you're real spiritual, it's being in that devotional every day. Maybe you have a really good support group that you like to just go out once a week and just talk, just having someone to let it out to. Maybe you don't need the advice from them. You just need them to listen so you can vent, so you don't explode at work or explode on that person that's stressing you out. Maybe you need some counseling. We've talked about that. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe you need a little medication. Nothing wrong with that. Have that conversation with your provider. If you feel like you've tried all these things and you just can't get a grasp on it still, then just identify it and figure out a way we got to manage it. Because managing that stress effectively, and that's the key word, managing it effectively, is essential for blood pressure control, but it's also so much essential for your health, from top to bottom. It plays into effect in so many different diseases and other issues that we have. Maybe you suffer from migraines because you stay stressed all the time. There's so many different things. So we need regular physical activity. We need to ensure that we're getting sufficient sleep each night. How many of you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep? Very good. Very good. How many of you get less than that? Anybody want to? All right. 7 to 8 hours is really good. And different ages require different things. But are you waking up in the middle of the night in that 7 hours? Are you getting 7 consistent hours? I would say if you're getting 7 consistent hours of sleep, that is great. You're doing well with that. If you're not, or if you're waking up several times, or you're not even getting that now, so many people think, oh, I can function on 4 hours. I don't need anything more than that. Your body may have adapted to that, but I assure you that 4 hours is not enough, okay? You know, we were created for a lot of things to happen while we're sleeping. Our body is regenerating. It's rebuilding things. It's, that's that recharge session. And when we don't allow that time, then we're just really contributing to our stress and all these other health issues that we have that so many people think, oh, I'm good with just 4 hours. If you're having trouble sleeping, I would encourage you to think about the caffeine or any other stimulants that you may be, around. Like, is there anything else affecting that? Are you on your devices up until you fall asleep? Because you can do all the research you want. You're going to see it. Being on that screen time, especially right before bed, is hindering you from sleeping. There's some great sleep apps and things out there. Maybe you even need a little bit of medication. Again, it's not a one-size-fits-all. You have to figure out what's causing it, what's disrupting that sleep, and then how do you need to fix it? What's best for you? So I love the fact, yes, I'm just seeing here in the comment, you grew up in faith and offer it up. Yes, my faith is my big go-to for stress. Or anything. I lean into that 100%. And I jumped off social media and turned the TV off. That is great. And I'm not saying that's for everybody. There's some great things on social media and great things. Maybe you're using it for a good positive podcast. Maybe you're watching good shows, and that's great. And I'm not here to be the TV cop. I'm just saying, you just got to remember, it's trash in, trash out. If we're feeding ourselves with things that are keeping us stressed or negative all the time, we're going to absorb that and we're going to become that. So just take a mental check of what it is you're consuming your time with. And then, so activity, ensuring your sleep, and then seeking that professional help if needed. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed if you need to do that. And a lot of times that's not long term. That's just to get you going in the right path and giving you the tools that you need to learn to manage. All right. So we've just talked about we need to integrate the DASH diet, stress management, and exercise. That should be that plan of care for you when you're focusing on getting your blood pressure down. You need to collaborate with your provider. Creating that personalized management plan and is key. All right, and communicating with your doctors. It's so important to have that open communication and those regularly monitor checks with your blood pressure so that your provider can adjust as needed based on what you're recording and based on your feedback. And setting realistic goals based on your individual health status. Say it all the time. It's not a one-size-fits-all. You've got to set goals that are realistic for you. All right. We are going to have challenges, right? I said this before. Life's hard. It throws those curveballs. But when we're dealing with this, we've got to normalize the setbacks. We've got to and it's going to happen. You're going to have setbacks. But we need to analyze that root cause. What caused that setback? And the key here is to make immediate correction. We can't stay stuck. We can't be stagnant. We can't just live there. You've got to normalize it. You got to know there's a problem, there's an issue, there's a setback. You got to understand it, figure it out, and then you got to make correction right then. Because the worst thing you can do is stay and be stuck there. You've got to stay motivated, set those short-term milestones, and maintain those realistic expectations, engaging in that regular monitoring. If you do have high blood pressure and you're not checking, it's like out of sight, out of mind. You can assume all day long, but if you really want to make change, and you probably know this within your work, with any other issues that you have, if you're not tracking and monitoring, you don't know. And a lot of times our assumptions are wrong. So you've got to monitor and you've got to provide that feedback to your providers so that they can make the change that are needed. And you need that for yourself. If you've got a goal and you're not checking yourself, I mean, like, how do you know? And that's why you need measurable goals. You can't just say, I'm going to do better. Okay, how are you going to measure that? And then it's so easy just to be like, well, I'm going to do better tomorrow. I'm going to do better tomorrow. Set yourself a hard, a smart goal, and where you can measure it. And set it small and give yourself some small increments so you can make that win. Okay, it's going to motivate you when you do, and then you build and you keep adding to that. Whoops, sorry. All right, we're going to listen to D'Angelo, and this is just a patient that was diagnosed with hypertension that kind of was real relaxed about it, didn't understand the significance, but decided to take an active role in his healthcare, and it had a huge impact. So we're going to listen to this video, and then we'll be at the end of our session.
One day, Deborah, she was my nurse. She wanted to check my blood pressure. I think my blood pressure was about 170 over 90, so it was pretty high for my age and everything. So she asked if I wanted to join the program with her to help see if I can find ways to lower my blood pressure.
We decided to let our nurses be the catalysts and the drivers of this program. In doing so, they were able to select patients that were not only appropriate for SMBP, but were engaged in the idea.
And the first step is figuring out what they do and do not know about blood pressure. Most of them do not know what the readings mean.
Also, we're going to be going over lifestyle changes. The amount of patients who are starting to realize that when they drink coffee and then they check their blood pressure an hour later and it's elevated, but the next day they don't drink coffee and their blood pressure is lower, they can make that connection that for them, coffee raises their blood pressure. So it helps them to be in charge of what habits they want to change based on how their body is affected by it.
Miss Deborah said that salt contains a lot of things that can make high blood pressure go up. When Mom found that out, she went on a salt rampage where she would take almost everything that included salt out. So it was pretty intense. There's a lot of change. I appreciate it, but I still like salt.
We're trying to give them the tools so they can succeed, so they can take what we're teaching them and use it to make them have more control over what their blood pressure readings are.
Having patient-generated data gives us that background. We always say when our patients leave the office, we kind of have that hole in the loop.
Nobody knows if you're actually taking your medication, whereas we send you home with a monitor. When you come back and see me, I'm going to be able to go to the doctor and show them this is how his blood pressure is.
That data helps fill that hole in the loop, and it gives us a better idea of whether we're on track with our blood pressures here in the office, or whether we need to maybe do some adjustments outside of the office. The real exciting part is seeing the collaboration with our nursing staff and the patient. Sometimes you'll hear them say, I stopped drinking soda, and they're really proud. That triggers an engagement with that patient that we may not have had in the past.
D'Angelo found that when he watches his blood pressure, it helps him to stay on track for doing other healthy lifestyle choices.
So that's what's really exciting, is we get to really take one facet of the patient's health and allow it to sort of infiltrate through their entire lives.
My blood pressure was lowered and everything. It's much better. Yesterday I checked it and it was around 108/60. So it's a lot better than it used to be.
All right, so that was D'Angelo. So it's just to show you that how taking an active part in your health, especially with, for here with hypertension, can really make a difference. Now, you all may not have the similar program that D'Angelo was talking about, but I do encourage you to talk to your providers, see if they have anyone there, but that's also something that you can work with us with. Now, we're not always necessarily going to be work hand in hand with your providers because they may not be, near us, but, tracking your blood pressure, you're sharing those with us, letting us know what those readings are, and then we can talk based off of the different changes that you might need, or maybe some recommendations to your provider. If you've been watching your salt intake and you've been monitoring, you've been exercising, but you're still not seeing the numbers that need to be, then, that needs to be communicated to your provider, whether that be just from you or if you are working with a care coordinator. But most importantly, just taking an active role in your health is crucial. So regular monitoring, healthcare visits are key. You need to adhere to that treatment plan. It's crucial for preventing those complications, but staying informed about the new research and strategies will also empower you to manage your condition effectively. So don't just assume that, someone else is going to tell you the newest trends or the newest, medications. Again, be active in your health. Know the research. Know what's going on with your body. Share that with your provider. Ask questions. Ask questions. Don't ever be scared to ask questions and have a better understanding of what's going on and how to improve that. All right. Well, we ran over about 3 minutes, and I am sorry. But I do hope that you all enjoyed. If there's anything that I went over that you would like more information on, or you want to just talk a little bit more in depth about, please feel free to reach out to me. We can do some one-on-one if we want to. You can also earn some extra tickets, raffle tickets that way. And I've also listed the sources here if you want to check any of those out. And I will be sending out the surveys. And if you got any questions, now is the time to speak, or you can reach out to me via email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Miss Patty. All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Like I said, if anything comes up and you have any questions, feel free to reach me by email. If you feel like you need some one-on-one with the nurse care coordinator, you can also reach out to me for that as well.